Thank you for joining us today as I present the Is Your Data Business Ready webinar. My name is Steve Leet and I am the Practice Director for our Information Management Group. For the next 50 minutes or so, I'll be discussing what it takes to make your data business ready. For today's agenda, we'll start off with a brief introduction to LPA and the services that we offer. Next, we'll define what business ready really means. Then we'll move into what it takes to start and maintain a governance program by reviewing the maturity model and a framework that identifies all the facets of a data governance program and how you can use this to map out your specific path. Then we'll take a brief look at the people, processes, and technology aspects required for a healthy and robust data governance program. Finally, we'll wrap it up with a quick Q&A session. If at any time during the presentation you have any questions, please feel free to submit them via the chat window. At the end of the presentation, I'll do my very best to answer as many as possible. I'd like to take a minute to discuss LPA Software Solutions, just to give everyone an idea of who we are and what we do. We were founded in 2001 in Rochester, New York, and we are an IBM Platinum Business Partner that focuses solely on the development and implementation of IBM software for our clients. We also partner with Pitney Bowes for extended location intelligence and mapping data. As a consulting firm, all of our developers are 100% certified in IBM software, and most of our consultants average more than 10 years of experience. As you can see from the slide, we work across many different industries and bring this knowledge to the table based on our past implementations. LPA provides services in a number of different areas. Starting at the left, LPA can create a roadmap that defines the strategy that an IT organization should follow for the best outcome. Moving up, LPA provides data governance and data warehousing services ranging from architecture and design all the way through to ETL development. Business intelligence has always been at LPA's core, providing training and implementation services to IBM Cognos customers globally. Our performance management team that implements an IBM product called Planning Analytics. And last but not least, LPA has an advanced and cognitive analysis practice that handles predictive and decision optimization software and services. As this chart shows, regardless of where you are in your analytics journey, LPA has the services that can help fast-track your progress. So what does the term business ready really mean? You may have heard the phrase the right data in the right place at the right time, but to me this is only the tip of the iceberg. In order to have data that can truly be considered an asset to the organization, you need to have the people, the processes, and the technology in place in order to have quality data that is trusted and used throughout the organization. With all the protection regulations that are currently in place, for example GDPR, and those that are coming down the pike, you need to be ready to not just handle them, but you need to be in a position to embrace the change with as small an impact as possible on your business. The only way that I believe that this is possible is to have a data governance program that provides high quality trusted data and is responsive to change. Make no mistake, this can be a daunting task, and if not done correctly, will be a very short-lived and expensive undertaking with a very low rate of return. Having said that, when done correctly, the business can start reaping benefits in a very short period of time, and that will continue to grow and adapt over time. Starting small and proving value is the key to success on this journey. Investing in a data governance program is exactly that. It's an investment. So why should you do it? More and more companies are starting to recognize that their data is a true asset and should be treated as such. Access to high quality data in a timely manner is a differentiator in many cases. If you think about your current environment, how much time and money has been spent to create the reports that are being used? How much time is spent by the different players maintaining the environment and managing the plethora of spreadsheets? How long does it take to add a new data source? And is it possible to perform an across-the-board impact analysis? And the question that is most overlooked is how confident are the users in the data? Until business users trust the data, you can never fully realize the investments that you have made to date. Starting a data governance program does not have to be a daunting task. especially if you start small and grow. The IBM Governance Process Framework is a customizable framework that guides you through the process and provides multiple entry points that allows you to take the first step in an area that will provide business value quickly. Starting at the top, we have the people and process entry points into the framework. The first step is to perform a maturity assessment to determine where you are on the curve. This will help provide the roadmap to get the organization's data to be truly business ready. Without a well-defined business need, it will be impossible to get executive sponsorship, which is key to the success of the program. The roadmap and guardrails provide the path and protections in place that will help the organization move up the maturity curve. The operating model defines the roles and responsibilities of the different players within the Governance Council. And we'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into this later in the presentation. Moving to the center of the chart, data preparation is where the data stewards come into play. They are the resources responsible for defining the data, cataloging it, and defining how it will be provisioned and consumed. They are also the first line of defense when it comes to responding to questions about data within their subject area. Technology. There are so many different tools available to assist with governance tasks, such as data movement, data profiling, master and reference data management, etc. Having a unified repository that allows these applications to share their metadata is key to simplifying the program. If we take a quick look at one simple use case of onboarding new data, the first step is to profile the new data to fully understand the quality of the incoming data. For example, does the telephone number always have a value? How many different formats were used when entering the data? Is it 5, 7 digits, 10 digits, etc.? Once you understand this, the stewards can then define the rules for ingesting the data and what validations need to be performed on the way in. Finally, the ETL developer needs to implement these rules within their ETL tool. Without a unified metadata repository, this can only be accomplished through emails and documents, both of which are difficult to control and enforce. Using a tool such as IBM InfoSphere, the findings of the profiling are available to the steward, and the rules that he defines are then available to the ETL tool to be implemented. Providing value and proving value are not the same thing. A well-defined governance program will have a set of key metrics that are used to measure the overall effectiveness of the program. These metrics will allow the program to adapt over time as the program matures and the corporate culture changes. They also allow the Governance Council to provide empirical evidence of the positive impact of the program. So let's dive a little deeper into the framework. And we'll start with defining the different levels on the maturity curve. As I mentioned in my previous slide, the first step in starting this journey is performing a data governance maturity assessment. There are a number of different approaches to performing the maturity assessment, but I find the IBM model to strike the perfect balance between being both comprehensive and usable. The first phase of the curve is a real semblance of data controls. Each department within the organization is focused on their specific needs and only worry about consistency when a subset of that data needs to be shared with another group. There are no metrics in place that provide visibility into the quality and consistency of the data. In the second reactive phase, the quality of the data is becoming important, and there may be some metrics that are used to quantify the cleanliness. However, departments are still acting independently. Determining lineage of a particular piece of data is a very manual process and difficult, if not impossible, to replicate. In the third phase, the organization as a whole has recognized the need for quality data that is business ready. The toolsets are consolidated, metrics have been defined, and are actively monitored by the stewards to ensure the quality of data. Business readiness is achieved when data governance is no longer considered a separate task, but rather the way we do business. Whether it's the users who know which data steward to contact in the event of a question, or the development team starting a new project, ensuring that the terms, definitions, and business rules are consistent with the published glossary. More often than not, we find that customers who first start this journey fall somewhere between phase 1 and 2. If you've already started a data governance program and skipped this step, it's not too late. In fact, continuously monitoring your progress up the curve is a good way to make sure that you're moving in the right direction. The next step is defining the business need. In general, there are two primary use cases, each with multiple ramps or entry points to get you started. First, let's discuss governance for compliance. This is the typical approach centered on data protection or regulatory compliance, such as GDPR or Global Data Protection Regulations, and also includes things such as e-discovery, records retention, archiving, and audit readiness. What changes here is simplifying and integrating the approach to this across structured and unstructured data to grow confidence and trust that all of the information is adequately protected and managed to minimize potential risks associated with the business data. If we can take the pain out of this must-do aspect of governance, then you can focus on enabling access to, sharing, and reuse of your data. In doing so, you can achieve governance for insight. This provides safe access to trusted, high-quality, fit-for-purpose data while facilitating effective collaboration among team members, allowing you to become a truly data-driven organization. And both business cases drive value. You become confident that your data can be shared, knowing that it will be automatically protected based on your policies and only used for the manner in which it was intended, i.e., data governance for compliance. You're enabled to discover and find more relevant data than anywhere else in your organization and feel empowered to contribute your data back to the platform, knowing that it will be protected. In other words, data governance for insights. These 2 points are related. The more confident knowledge workers are that their data will be protected from misuse, the happier they will be to share their data in the platform. This drives cultural change and allows organizations to innovate towards becoming a data-driven organization. This then, in turn, leads to more data being available across the enterprise, allowing for better insights, more accurate, complete analytics. Making this a reality for you is the business that we are in. Lastly, we'll take a look at what the operating model is comprised of. Without people and processes, there can be no governance program. The council is the highest level information governance decision-making authority. It must have a strong leader with resolve and conviction of purpose. There must be committed and knowledgeable representation from each major business unit, and they must be empowered to make key data-centric decisions for their business unit. Members must have an excellent grasp of the organization business processes and understand a bit about technology. Meetings must be well structured, consistent, and have a clear decision points. And we'll take a look in a little bit more detail in the next slide or two. The operating model will define and document the critical information governance roles and responsibilities. Roles must be clearly spelled out with examples of tasks and responsibilities. Data-centric roles must be filled with individuals who possess deep business process and data experience, as well as solid relationships with both business and technology team members. Technology and process-centric roles must be filled with individuals who understand the information governance technology, but also understand the disciplines of information governance and the associated processes. Data policies and standards define how and where the data will be consumed. The security requirements for the data and the standards to which the data and processes needs to comply in order to be trusted and made available to the organization. Some of the best practices to follow here are establishing a governance council with senior stakeholders from each of the main data sources. Establish day-to-day governance working group. Establishing a stewardship practice with data stewards aligned by IT system or our line of business. And create ongoing data quality is fostered by data policies and standards and their alignment to business-driven KPIs. So let's take a look now at some of the different people and roles in a little bit more detail. People across different functions of the organizations need data to make better decisions. Be it a compliance officer who needs access to sensitive information to satisfy the regulatory demands, or a data scientist who needs data to assign business value to data for other users of data. Everyone needs data. This puts the Chief Data Officer in a situation to envision and deliver the data needs of the organization. The CDO needs to make sense of the enterprise data by seeing what data provides value and what does not. He needs to make this data available to the enterprise to consume it by self-service methods or to remove the burden on IT dependence for the different functions using the data. In order to gain competitive advantage using the data, the organization C-suite is expecting the CDO to look for innovative ways to monetize this data. And with the new regulatory demands, the legal and compliance departments are expecting the CDO to protect and govern this enterprise asset. So how can the CDO cater to the demands of all these different stakeholders in an enterprise? A unified data governance approach is the solution to this problem of making data valuable, available, and actionable to all stakeholders, be it a data engineer or a data scientist or a records manager or a compliance officer. A unified governance portfolio consists of all of the capabilities an organization needs to discover, integrate, cleanse, classify, profile, and catalog your critical business information assets so you can provide value from data to all the stakeholders of the enterprise. So let's briefly walk through the common stakeholders and their objectives. We'll start with the governed information assets, as governance starts with data or content. As information is created or brought into the organization, it must be sent to where it is needed in a form that is meaningful, checked for quality, sensitivity, etc., and cataloged so it can be used effectively. These tasks are typically owned by the data engineer and/or steward, who will benefit from an integrated set of capabilities that easily automate many of these tasks. As part of this process, sensitive information will be identified, such as information that can be used to identify a specific individual, their credit card information, or their private health information. All of these types of information require special handling according to internal and government guidelines to avoid exposure. Compliance officers and data stewards are responsible for creating and enforcing these rules and policies to protect their clients and employees. This may include masking sensitive information or anonymizing data for purposes such as test environments. Next, we begin to think about managing the life cycle of information. Some data has more frequent or immediate value to the business, while other data is less frequently used or may be obsolete. Compliance officers determine which data is no longer necessary or which must be disposed of, and data engineers implement a strategy to move rarely used data to a less expensive archive storage or to decommission data that is no longer of value to the business. A similar strategy must be deployed with unstructured content. Data must be classified due to the business value and relevance and then managed for appropriate retention or disposal. With this type of information, the compliance officer typically works with the records manager to implement the strategy. With all of these foundation elements in place, very specific tasks can be addressed effectively. Let's consider the case of litigation. If a company is sued, it is important to quickly and easily identify information within the organization that is relevant to the litigation and that which is not. That's where the e-discovery process comes into place. The legal team is heavily involved in this. The discovery process can be very time-consuming and expensive, so providing them with the ability to quickly identify only relevant information and to control the process with notifications is critical in reducing both cost and risk. Audits are another specific function that requires many of the capabilities already described, but applied to ensure internal compliance with all policies related to the proper handling of data to reduce the risk to the organization. Here, compliance officers and data stewards work together to demonstrate and validate exactly how and where information is being used within the organization. This avoids risk, but also further benefits the organization by solidifying the trust both in the information that is available to use and sharing information knowing that it will not be misused. Regulatory compliance is a very similar task that leverages many of the same capabilities, but are done to comply with external government regulations. There are many types of regulations related to privacy, financial protection, etc., which each come with a set of differing requirements in terms of both handling procedures and how to prove compliance. These procedures go far beyond just how you handle and use information, but in the case of regulations like GDPR, add additional requirements like the right to be forgotten, where a citizen can demand that you delete all information that pertains to them. And finally, we come to self-service, where we realize the full promise of governance for insights. While not required to begin self-service, it certainly helps to have a strong handle on the other capabilities described here. The users in this space change dramatically. They can literally be anyone in the organization. The citizen analysts, which is just another way of saying non-technical line of business user, want simple access to all of the information available to them to gain a complete view of the business issue. They can only benefit from information that is accurate, trusted, and available to them to leverage for making business decisions. Developers will similarly want to easily find information relevant to their project, and then be able to easily access it via a familiar API to quickly integrate it into new applications. Data scientists will need to understand all the different sources of information available for them to create new analytic models that can be leveraged by the business. They'll be willing in some cases to use data that's a little bit less qualified, so long as they can understand what it is that they're getting. This walkthrough was done in somewhat of a linear fashion for convenience, but in real life it's anything but linear. You could start and complete these on-ramps in any specific order. We've spent a good portion of time on the people and process components, each of which could have their own dedicated webinar. So for now, I'm going to spend a small amount of time on the technology aspect. The thing to remember is that technology is the enabler of a robust data governance program. It is not the solution. Having an integrated suite of products to manage the environment is key. As you may already know, there are many facets to a data governance program, and there is no one single tool that will deliver everything you need. However, products such as the IBM InfoSphere provides you with all of the capabilities and functionality that you need for all the different roles and responsibilities of a governance team, underpinned by a single shared unified data repository. Today I will touch on a few of the modules that are most relevant to the topic at hand. They are IBM Information Governance Catalog, Information Analyzer, and finally DataStage Flow Designer. As part of today's presentation, I'll do a quick demo of DataStage Flow Designer so you can get a feel for the products. If you'd like to have a more detailed and customized demonstration of any of the products you see today, we'll be happy to set this up. And I'll have my contact information up at the end of the presentation for you. So let's jump into the Information Governance Catalog. It's an interactive web-based tool that allows users to explore, understand, and analyze information. Users can create, manage, and share a common business language, document and enact policies and rules, and track the usage and consumption of data within a lineage report, all providing trusted information for compliance and insights. It provides a common business language and vocabulary to enable a deeper understanding of your data assets, whether they are structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. With this module, you can establish a governance framework that will document the policies and enact rules to define how information should be structured, stored, transformed, and moved. The data and business lineage component allows you to understand how data flows across the information landscape, helping you track where data was sourced from or how it is being consumed, allowing you and the organization to develop trust and confidence in your data. Together with a robust workflow, the assets can be cataloged, terms defined, and go through an approval process before being published to the user community. Included with the governance catalog is a very useful client-side application that sits in the background of the user's computer, and rather than hunting through websites and/or documents for the official definition of a term or how a measure is calculated, all the user needs to do is highlight the word on their screen, whether it's a report column header or a term in a document, hit the shortcut key, and it will pop up this little screen that will display the term along with its definition and any other related assets, putting the glossary at the fingertips of the user community. Switching gears now, taking a look at Information Analyzer. This module uses advanced algorithms and machine learning to help identify columns with personal information or other sensitive data and critical data elements that may need to be part of a GDPR data strategy. It provides a collaborative, multi-user environment between business and IT. The rules, the integrated rules analysis is a methodology and best practice for designing data quality rules to perform trending, pattern analysis, and establish baselines consistently over data sources. The prepackaged data validation rules help to reduce overall development time. It has broad support for heterogeneous data sources, including ODBC or native connectivity to profile data. It allows for reuse and sharing of data rules in IBM DataStage and QualityStage. Because it utilizes the unified metadata repository, results and notes can automatically be shared across all of the InfoSphere modules, such as the metadata workbench and the business glossary. Information Analyzer can be used throughout the data lifecycle, from profiling new datasets before they are ingested into the reporting environment, to help align data quality metrics for the duration of a project. DataStage Flow Designer. So this is new to version 11.7. It's a web-based UI for DataStage. You can use Flow Designer to create, edit, load, and run DataStage jobs. While this tool does not yet have the full set of functionality that a thick client has, it's the perfect tool to put in the hands of some of your more advanced business users and data scientists, giving them the ability to quickly and easily ingest new data for future consumption. When the user has accomplished all they can with the tool and/or their expertise, the job can easily be handed over to an ETL developer to productionalize it. Since Flow Designer is a UI for DataStage, the jobs that are created using this tool are in fact DataStage jobs, and can therefore automatically be added to the metadata repository, making them visible in the governance catalog, and are automatically included for lineage and impact analyses. As I mentioned, we're only really hitting the tip of the iceberg here, and there are many more modules available with the InfoSphere suite that address all of the functions necessary to support a data governance program. And we've only really skimmed the surface of the tools that I did highlight. But what I'd like to do now is just quickly show you a use case using Data Flow Designer. So I'm going to put my business user hat on, and I have weather information that I've downloaded from a website that I would like to include for analysis purposes. So here's my spreadsheet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and now I want to bring it in to our data warehouse environment. So let me come. I have a brand new project set up. So here's the launchpad for information server. As you can see, there's a lot of different tools, and we're not really going to go through all of them. But here's my DataStage Flow Designer. So again, as a business user, I'm ready to go and bring this in. So here's my project that I'm going to be running. Okay, let's go create a brand new job. And I've got my sequential file. So it's literally drag and drop. And we've already got the table definition set up just to make life a little bit easier. I could go type it in manually if I really wanted to. But for sake of simplicity, we're just going to drag and drop it in. And you can see here how it's brought in all of the column data types. And add that to our job. Now, the one thing, if we go back and take a look at the data, real quick, you'll notice here that the date is an integer, and we want to convert that across to a real date format. So if we come back and we take a look at our table data sort, table target, so this is the table in the warehouse, and we click on that guy, we say next. We can see here that date is actually of type date, so we need to convert the varchar date across into the date data type. So in order to do that, I'm going to bring in a transformer, and now we're going to link these three up. Okay, so now we're going to set the properties for our data file. We're going to give it the path, where we saved it. We're going to tell it, in this case, the first line is not the column header, so we can ignore that. We can see the column properties over here. Everything is varchar, so that's good. I'm going to hit save there. We're going to come to our target table, and we're going to give it the data property, set up its data connection. So since we used an ODBC data source, I'm putting in the ODBC name. If we'd used the JDBC, it would be the JDBC URL. Say, and for those DBAs out there, yes, I'm using the system administrator, and I know that's bad, but for today's purposes, I just wanted something quick and easy. Okay, so I'm going to hit save over here. Now I'm going to come to my transformer stage, because if I take a look at my inputs, my date here is a varchar, and I need to make it a date data type on the way out. Right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to click on this guy. Now, if you know DataStage syntax, you can start typing it in, but I'm actually just going to say show my syntax builder, and I want to use the string to date function, and I'm going to click on that. So it gives me what the syntax is. So now I'm going to come in and say, here's my date string. So that's the coming in from link 4, the date field. And let me just clean this up. It's coming in the format of YYY, MM, DD, no dashes, and get rid of that. And say save. Okay. And that's it. That's really all that I had to do. Let me save the job. There we go. And we'll compile it. And good job, it compiled with no errors. And now we'll run it. And it should pop up over here and tell me what it's doing. But there we go, it ran and it finished in 2 seconds. Well, finished a while back. So just to prove that everything ran, if I come back now to my operations console, for those of you who are familiar with DataStage, you will be familiar with this. Here's my weather demo that just ran. And if I go take a look at the details, the log, and I show my full messages, I should see here that it connected, and there we go, it inserted 31 rows. So great, so there's success. If I come take a look at the actual table itself, and I query it real quick, there we go, we can see that it ran, 93 rows. Well, you can see I've been testing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change gears real quick and say, hey, you know what? This really should only have the 31 rows, and I'm not quite too sure how to do that. So I'm going to throw this over the wall to my developer and say, hey, can you quickly fix this for me? So now as the developer, let me close these out. Let me make sure I close out of here. Now I could, if I knew, I could change the table action over here to truncate, in which case it will actually do a truncate insert. But being a business user, I'm not sure of where all of these things are, so I'm actually just going to ask my developer for a little bit of help here. So let me close out of this, and I say to my developer, hey, do me a favor, take a look at this job. So let me come into DataStage, and let me just do a quick refresh to make sure I pick up the latest version of everything. Here's my weather demo. So this was the job that was created by my business users. So now me as the developer, I'm going to change this so I can come in here, and you'll notice that even though it was originally created in Flow Designer, it's actually created a valid DataStage job. And I'm going to come change my table action to truncate insert, say OK. And in all honesty, we would not hard code the usernames and passwords in here. These should all be parameterized. And again, this all comes down to it's from a business user perspective, it's got everything I need. Let me now throw it into production. My development team will come in and do a little bit of cleanup that will need to happen there, and standardization to make sure it's consistent with everything. But now I can save this and compile it and let it run and say close, and I can now run it from here again, whether I run it from Flow Designer or from within DataStage. There we go. All right, so that all worked. If we now come across to our database and we re-execute, and we can see there's just the 31 rows, which is what I was expecting. So perfect, everything's happy. All right, so great. Hopefully that gave you a quick overview of Flow Designer and how it's integrated. And I'm going to carry on now with the rest of the presentation. Again, if you'd like more details or if you'd like a more customized demo, please feel free to reach out and I'll be happy to help you out in any way I can. Okay. So moving right along. So again, we've looked at, kind of what it takes to set up a data governance program, what's involved in it, and the people, the process, and the technology. But one thing that you really need to be concerned about is, is your vision of a lake really a swamp in reality? Not so long ago, it was much easier to create a pristine data environment and, more importantly, keep it that way. The business was used to having to wait for new data to be added to the environment, and it could be done in a controlled manner. Those days have gone. In today's reality, more data is being consumed at a faster rate than ever before. Users are demanding the ability for self-service reporting and to quickly and easily add their own data. Without the right processes in place and the right tools to support the governance team, the lake will become a swamp in a very short period of time. Using tools such as Information Analyzer, you can quickly and efficiently profile the data before it gets added into the environment, which gives you the opportunity to ensure that the data is accurate and timely, while still being responsive to the business user's needs. The Governance Catalog will allow the stewards to document the assets and identify any rules that may need to be applied to cleanse the data for general consumption. For those of you who are using some of the more advanced analytic tools to run predictive models, being able to quickly and efficiently add new data that can be trusted into a data area for the scientists to create the models is critical. Hopefully by now you've seen how the right people, processes, and technologies can ensure that your data is truly business ready. So let's talk a little bit about how LPA can help, and right after that I'll open the floor to questions, and I've seen there's a couple that have come through the chat window. So LPA can help you regardless of where you are in your data governance journey, and whether it's going through one of our facilitated workshop offerings with a readiness assessment, and this is a free half-day workshop where we will work with you to determine where you are in terms of data governance maturity. We also offer best practices workshops. We will spend time with you reviewing your current operating model and propose some best practices that could improve your data governance program. We have a number of architecture and roadmap offerings which are designed to help customers get an accurate picture of where they are today and where they'd like to be in the future. And the outcome of this is a prioritized list of tactical steps needed to accomplish the overall strategic goal. We offer many different flavors, and more often than not, we end up customizing the subject areas based on the specific needs of each customer. Trying to decide on a toolset selection that best meets your needs can be a complex and frustrating task. Knowing how the different components interact with each other and third-party products takes years of experience to fully understand. Let us at LPA walk you through this process and tell you the individual strengths and weaknesses of the different products and how best to bring them all together. We at LPA have a team of seasoned veterans covering all aspects of the information supply chain, from warehouse design to ETL coding, and from reporting to advanced analytics and everything in between. If you have a project that could use a little bit more manpower to bring you back on schedule, please feel free to reach out to us to see how we can help you in this arena. And as I've said already, at the end of the presentation, I will have a slide with some links for some more information and my contact details. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say thank you and for submitting your questions throughout the presentation, and I'm going to try and answer them now. And if I don't get to your specific question, I will send out a follow-up email with answers to all of the questions that were submitted. Okay, so where are we? Question. It seems like there's a lot of upfront work that needs to be done before you can start a data governance program. Is that true? Well, there definitely are some tasks that you should absolutely do when starting a program such as this. For example, obtaining executive sponsorship, performing a maturity assessment, and establishing at least an initial operational model. None of these tasks should take an excessive amount of time, especially on the onset. And as for the operating model, you really want to start out small. You don't have to decide who all the players are all at once. You don't have to worry about including all of the departments. Really, what you want to do is pick one area of the organization and start with it. And then as you gain momentum, slowly bring the others on board. As I mentioned at the start of the webinar, start small and prove value quickly and allow the program to grow over time. Okay, next question. We started our data governance program about 6 months ago. Is it too late to perform a maturity assessment? So really, absolutely not, is the quick answer to that one. It is best to perform your maturity assessment at the start of the data governance program, because it kind of points you in the right direction. But in all honesty, I recommend performing the maturity assessment a number of times throughout the lifespan of the program, and it keeps you on track. It helps you measure where you are and how you're moving to and towards obtaining truly business-ready data. Okay. What are the 3 top reasons why data governance fails at organizations? This is a great question. Top 3. Off the top of my head, I think the first and foremost is lack of executive sponsorship. Without that in place, you will never have the resources available to you, and whether that's time and effort, or in fact just driving culture change. It can be tricky sometimes. So you need to have this driven from the top down so that people adopt it and embrace the change that will come through it. I think another one is failure to embrace data governance toolsets like IBM's InfoSphere. Trying to do everything through spreadsheets and Word documents, it will work, but it's a lot of effort. There's no automation, and just trying to go and find where things are being used and performing an impact analysis or a lineage, is impossible if you have to manually maintain that, because pretty much the document is stale as soon as you have completed it. So you really do want to make sure that you select a good tool set that covers as many of those aspects as possible. The third reason, I think, is people try to boil the ocean, and this is often because you're new to you're new to the process. You're not quite sure how it all works together, and you try and you bite off more than you can chew. And the way to prevent this really is you want to engage a firm like LPA to get you up and running, to point you in the right direction, to use them as a sounding board, to say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Give me a call. I'll be happy to chat to you about it, and give you some things to chew on, and point you in the right direction. So I think those are the top 3 really: lack of executive sponsorship, not using the right tool set, and trying to boil the ocean. Okay, I think we've got time for one more. We're using SSIS and Tableau for our warehouse. Can we still take advantage of InfoSphere? This is another great question, so thank you. Absolutely. You do not. InfoSphere is a open product, so it has bridges to pretty much every tool that's out there, whether it's the database, a reporting tool, an ETL tool. You can import your own metadata that doesn't exist anywhere else. So it really does have open connectivity, and you can utilize just the components of InfoSphere, or just the modules that make sense to you. So whether you're just using the catalog, because that's a great tool for documenting your rules and your glossary, and you can, as I said, bring in the contents from third-party products without any issues. Okay, so that's about all that we have time for. So I do want to say thank you very much for your time today. I hope you have learned something new and have a couple of things to think about. And as I mentioned, if you don't, there are a couple of other questions that are coming through. I will respond to every one of you with the questions and answers. And if you think of something a day from now, an hour from now, feel free, please, to reach out to me at steve.leet@lpa.com or directly to sales@lpa.com. And hope you enjoy the rest of your day. All right, thank you very much.